But the question, is 1 cent pulse possible? I think it's possible. I think it's definitely a high number for it, but let's go by the numbers. So all-time low of pulse, I believe, pulling up deck screener right now. Let me get this for you. I want to make sure my data is accurate. I believe our all-time low was 0.000031. So let's see. We're going to pull up the old calculator. 0.01 divided by 0.000031. That is a 322x, I believe. Yeah. So the question comes down to this. Do you believe a 322x is possible? It also determines where you think it's going to come from. Do you think that the measuring point is PulseChain launch, which was about 0.001 or 1/100th of a penny itself? Based on the data that the research I've done for this one, the average performance of a good layer 1 chain in its first cycle is 100x baseline. So what that means is that theoretically we're going to get to about 1 or 3/10ths of a penny based on that. So the question there is, do you think it's going to go the rest of the way, which is an extra 3x effectively, to go from a 100x to, what did we say it was? 322? It's possible. Especially, I think it's very possible, especially considering all of the fundamentals behind PulseChain and the ecosystem. Only possible detractors for this happening are going to be the following. PulseChain is unique because it's a new L1 that has 4 core tokens as opposed to 1, arguably 5, depending on how you consider EHEX into this equation. As a result of that, it means that the amount of capital injected into the markets could be dispersed over those 4. What that does is it's going to reduce the amount of money going into a single token itself. The way that the pumpamentals work, if you will, is that it's not based on money compared to market cap. It's based on money compared to liquidity, which is that instead of looking at market cap and the amount of money to get the market cap to a certain point, you got to look at the amount of money to get the liquidity dried up on one side of that liquidity pool to push that price up to the next higher high. If you have 1 token, it's a lot easier to do that. If you have a smaller market cap, it's a lot easier to do that. If you have 4 tokens that arguably have a large community behind it, these are 2 points that might make it more difficult to see massive X's. Is it going to be possible to do the 10,000x that Hex did initially? I think it's going to be very difficult to do it just based on those principles, which is that there's more money in the pot now, so the pool is larger. So it's going to take more energy to drive that to that higher level. Additionally, the 4 tokens, we have Pulse, PulseX, Hex, and Incentive Token. Typically, they've all been moving relatively with regard to one another in unison together, but as we've seen over the last 2-3 months, Hex has really gone on its own run. And I think that's a very good signal because we saw Hex do it, we saw Incentive Token do it, and I think we're probably going to see PulseX do it sometime relatively soon. And there's a good chance that PulseChain, which is the base L1 token, might be the last one to do it. So overall, I think that the 1 cent PulseChain is a reasonable target. But again, I'm going to give it maybe like a 10% probability. It's still a very high target, but it's absolutely in the realm of reality, shall we say.